Alright, let's do this. Thomas Jefferson, the third president of our United States, had an inquisitive mind about the unknown west of the Mississippi. Well before the Louisiana Purchase, many failed attempts were made for this sort of exploration because of this belief that in order for us to thrive, we need to understand and grow into that area. So when the French ruler, Napoleon Bonaparte, began offering him this large area of land, which he later bought for roughly $15 million, he began planning an exploration. Congress finally gave permission for this and gave $2,500 toward the effort, and very soon after, he recruited someone for the exploration of the area, his private secretary, Meriwether Lewis. Lewis had the military skills and discipline. He was a former rifleman and was involved in the putting down of the Whiskey Rebellion. Lewis was born on August 18, 1774, near Ivy, Virginia, and was extremely excited when asked about this thrilling trip. He then went to Philadelphia to begin training for the trip and bought supplies, including a Newfoundland dog named Seaman, which he bought for $20. He also oversaw the construction of a boat for the journey. After that, he recruited William Clark, who was actually his co-commander, but the U.S. Secretary of War didn't want there to be a co-commander, so they just addressed each other as captain. Clark was born on August 1st, 1770 in Caroline County, Virginia. He was also a soldier, and just before this expedition, he had retired when he was just 26 years old. These two were the officers of a group called the Corps of Discovery. It was a unit of the Army made up of 5 non-commissioned officers and 30 other enlisted explorers. Along with them came other civilians, 3 of which were permanent and 12 others were temporary. The trip started on May 14, 1804, in St. Louis, Missouri, at a place called Camp Wood, and from there they embarked on a journey that would take them almost 8,000 miles and through many crazy events. These events would change our understanding of this nation forever because of the discoveries in many different fields of science and geographic discoveries. Also, many of the stories are rather entertaining. Clark kept a rather descriptive journal throughout this exploration, so many things are known about this trip. Here are some of those highlights of this adventure. On July 4th, 1804, they held their first ever Independence Day celebration west of the Mississippi. A little over a month later, on August 20th, one of the sergeants, Charles Floyd, died of natural causes near Sioux City, Iowa. This was the only death from the members of the Corps of Discovery. Then their travels became a little better after discovering many unknown animals to eastern United States when entering the Great Plains early September. A huge change came on November 4th when the crew hired the French-Canadian fur trader Toussaint Charbonneau and his Indian wife Sacagawea, who act as interpreters for them when contacting with Indians, which was another goal of this mission. Then on December 17th, 1804, the men recorded the temperatures at 45 degrees below zero, which they said it was colder than they ever knew it to be in the States. Finally then, on Christmas Eve of 1804, the men finished building Fort Mandan, which was to be their winter quarters in present-day North Dakota. Then on February 11th, 1805, Sacagawea's son, Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau, nicknamed Pompey by Clark, is born with the assistance from Lewis. In April of 1805, Lewis and Clark sent a shipment of artifacts and specimens to President Jefferson. Later that month, the Corps marveled at the abundance of different animals, and groundbreakingly, they killed their first grizzly bear near the Yellowstone River in Montana. In May, one of their boats nearly overturned, but Lewis, in his journal, credited Sacagawea with the saving of their most important possessions. A month later, on the 13th of June, Lewis and the rest of the Corps reached the Great Falls of Missouri, which is 5 massive cascades around which the men must carry all of their gear, including the canoes. Just about 2 months after that, the party arrives at the Shoshone camp, where Sacagawea recognizes the chief as her long-lost brother. A day later, on August 18th, Lewis celebrates his 31st birthday and heartfeltly vows, in the future, to live for mankind as I have heretofore lived only for myself. On September 11th of that same year, the Corps begin their steep ascents into the Rocky Mountains. There they will cross over 160 miles of grueling landscape. Just about a month later, after learning a new method of making canoes from the Nez Perce Indians, the men push off down the Clearwater River near Idaho. This was the first time in their travels that they had the current at their back for almost 2 years. Then, on November 24th, 1805, they finally reached the Pacific. The entire expedition, including Sacagawea and Clark's slave York, take a vow where to build their winter quarters. They choose the Clatsop Indian side of the Columbia, and the encampment came to be called Fort Clatsop. After a terrible winter of only 12 days without rain, the men present their fort to the Clatsop Indians and set out for home. Then, September 23rd, 1806, having found an easier route across the country, the men reach St. Louis nearly 2.5 years after their journey began and are acclaimed as national heroes. Congress rewarded them with double the pay and more public land. The captains, Lewis and Clark, received 1,600 acres, and their men received 320 acres. The final cost for the expedition totaled $38,000. Jefferson then appointed Lewis governor of Upper Louisiana Territory and appointed Clark an Indian agent. Although some argue about the true impact they made, their journal finally got published in 1814, and they did make serious findings in science and geography. Then, in 1978, Congress established the 3,700-mile Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail, which you can go and hike today.